Dear learners, welcome back to SWAYAM NPTEL course on library automation and networking, week 3rd integrated library system, and this particular module is 3rd integrated library system, lecture number is 15, and the title of this particular lecture is integrated library system NewGenLib. Dear learners, we have heard lot many about integrated library system, its features, its characteristics, and there are different types of integrated library system like open source, free or libre open source software, or the software which are under commercial category like proprietary software or commercial software or closed software, or another classification like the softwares which are developed in-house or the softwares which are developed or customized individually. So these are all different categories of integrated library system under open source software and other categories. So apart from that, we have already learned about the features and characteristics and how do we select a particular integrated library system for your library, because each library, irrespective of the number of collections, the library's functionalities can be changed, activities can be changed, or the staff pattern can be changed. So based on all these, how do you select a particular software under any of the categories, or when it comes to specifically open source integrated library system, how do we select a particular software based on its features, community participation, and the updates, versions, and also the age of that particular software, the functionalities it consisting of. All these parameters are these particular criteria for selecting a particular software. So we have seen all these areas, and apart from that, we have evaluated some of the open source integrated library software, because when you see the economical feasibility, we always go for open source integrated library system. And unlike earlier times, now we have all the supports, all the demo versions, and all kind of community participation, where you will be able to get instant response for a particular query. Suppose you are having any issues or concern with the software installation or customization or any of the activities or modules, etc. So you have all the options in front of you to work on a particular open source integrated library system. So we have already discussed about two major open source integrated library system based on its popularity and the establishment and how the people are using it, especially in Indian libraries. We have already discussed ABCD and Koha. And one more software under this particular category, that is open source integrated library system NewGenLib. So about this particular software, its features, how do we install this particular software, and how do we do the configuration, and what are the features or modules or the characteristics of this particular software which are available as open source integrated library system NewGenLib. And then we will have a conclusion of this particular week also. So when we talk about NewGenLib, as we have learned about ABCD, Koha, the similarity of these two softwares, both the softwares are developed by a foreign country, or it is a collaboration of a foreign countries. Whereas when we talk about NewGenLib, we should be proud of that we have a indigenous or Indian community developed software that we call it as NewGenLib software. So it is a kind of a local software where Indians or Indian library professionals have developed, that we call it as NewGenLib. So we can call this particular software as the first open source integrated library system. So this particular software is developed by an Indian commercial agency or a private company which is named as Veru Solutions Private Limited, and they made a collaboration with a subject expert from the Keshavan Institute of Information and Knowledge Management, that is KIIKM, which is situated in Hyderabad. So the contribution of library professional is too much that in Indian scenario this particular software has been developed. So this particular software initially is not developed as open source integrated library system. It is developed as a commercial software, or as a commercial software it has been developed in the year 2005. So that time it was a commercial software. And after 3 years, this particular community or this particular private agency, they have migrated or they have changed this particular software from commercial software to open source category. That means they have licensed under the JNU General Public License, which is for open source software. As we have seen that this particular software is an outcome of Indian library professionals. That means the software which is created within India. So it has all the features where it can be fit for an Indian library. So whether you take a small library like school library or bigger library like university library system, it is equally fit for both the libraries, as it has almost all the functional modules to handle a particular integrated library system, and it has all the features of handling all the housekeeping operations of a particular library. And this will be another best options where people can opt for integrated library system in the open source category. This particular software is also useful for accommodating all the housekeeping operations as well as creating a institutional repository or digital library. That means it can hold both the institutional repository or digital library function and as well as housekeeping operations. And when we talk about the modules of NewGenLib, it has almost all the modules like acquisition module, technical processing module, circulation module, cataloging, serial control, reports, statistics, etc. All these functionalities are there and additional features also. And when we talk about the platforms, NewGenLib is also similarly like ABCD. We can run on different platforms, like it is a kind of a platform independent where we can download or install or function it in Windows and Linux also. And also this particular software have all the capacity to hold all the functionalities to perform housekeeping operations. And when we talk about integrated library system, as we know that at any time there can be an error occurs, or there can be a down in the server, or there can be a power failure. So suppose something has happened when you are completely dependent on open source integrated library system, so we can't ask the users to wait for a transaction, so it has to be continued, or it should be a continuous process. In such kind of a cases, normally this particular software, it is always better to have a offline mode. So even like Koha, we have an offline Koha module. Even the similar way, NewGenLib also has the capability of doing a particular transaction in the offline mode, but it is only having a limited functionalities. But at least we have that such kind of an options where if there is something happens for the software, then you can do for it in an offline mode, so that you are not going to disturb the normal smooth functioning of the library, and the users are nowhere affected by a system failure. When we come to technical speciality of NewGenLib, this particular software is using a programming language Java and PostgreSQL as database server, Apache Tomcat as server, and it follows Mark 21, Set 39.50 client, Unicode 3.0, and then Dublin Core, MODS, RDBMS technology to manage databases. All these functionalities are part of NewGenLib technologies. And it has additional features like when we talk about circulation process, barcoding, RFID, these are all very much required for having a smooth functioning. So NewGenLib also can have such kind of integration of barcoding system, RFID system, so that you can go for an advanced circulation procedures or processes. NewGenLib is also available in both English as well as Arabic, so that people can use both the languages. So as we know that it's a software of open source integrated library system where you have the source code, so you have a complete flexibility or freedom to edit this particular software, and you can do all the customization. If you are technically sound, then you can go to each and every module, and whenever you require some kind of a functionality additional, so that can be customized in this particular software. So it is a complete package where you can use it for creating a digital library as well as maintaining all your collections and handling all the functions of housekeeping operations. The last stable version of NewGenLib is 3.0, which is released in the year 2011. And the problem with NewGenLib, we could see that unlike ABCD and Koha, this particular software is not having any kind of a demo version. So we need to learn after installing the software in your own system. So there is no such kind of a facility that you can have a trial version for this particular software. Suppose you plan to install or download this particular software, you will be having all the support from this particular agency, that is Verus Solutions Private Limited. These are all the other features NewGenLib has, like it has all the additional features like it supports access from Android mobile and tablet capable, integration with Twitter helping send messages of transaction directly to users in Twitter's accounts, and the biggest issue or challenge we can see that it does not have an active community. So that could be the reason why many of the libraries not adopted NewGenLib, because whenever we adopt an open source integrated library system, we always need a community support. So the user community or the community from this particular developers should be strong, then only we will be able to go further whenever you are making some kind of a modification in the software to add any additional features. So NewGenLib is also having added features like RFID integration, barcode integration, or multi-user access, multi-database access. All these functionalities are available with NewGenLib. And NewGenLib is also allows digital media or digital attachment with its metadata details also. So when we talk about more about NewGenLib, so if you are planning to have this particular software, anyway the private company will give you all the support, and as well as it is an open source software, so whatever additional features or whatever additional support you require, you may need to pay for that, but otherwise you will be getting an extended support from the company, and as well as there is no co-developers, that means there is no private company or there is no other agency in which this particular software is developing. So the development is limited, but the updates are coming in a frequent manner that you will be able to make such kind of a customization useful for your library functions. So NewGenLib uses auto EOD, that means automatic end of day process application to send auto emails to users. That means auto EOD facilitate to automatically send reminders to its users on renewal of resources, overdue notice, unclaimed reservations, general and database maintenance, auto block patterns, reminders to publisher or vendor on missing, delayed, or supply of books or journals, etc. So this auto EOD will be functioning. It is a good function. At the end of this particular day, this particular system by default or automatically send the messages to the individual users. And one of the major advantages when we consider Koha and ABCD, as I discussed in the initial stage, that this particular NewGenLib software is developed by Indian library professionals. So that is why we understood that this particular software is not like Eastern countries or Western countries. Now, as I have discussed in the previous classes, for Koha and ABCD, this particular software is developed by foreign countries. So whenever there is a software which is developed by a foreign countries, the functionalities they created will be more inclined to their surroundings or their situations. So that means it will be more fit to the Western or Eastern countries. Whereas when we come to NewGenLib, this particular software is developed in Indian scenario. That means it is very much fit for the Indian libraries. So you can see almost all the options, all the modules which are available in the software NewGenLib is very much inclined to the systems or the procedures we follow in the Indian libraries. One of the best examples for that, so we make advance payment for the journals whenever we make that, and this particular payment will be done from the library or maybe the finance division. So that procedure is entirely different from the foreign countries. So whenever you make this particular module, that serial control module, or when you make a acquisition process in the book acquisition form, so this is entirely different from the other softwares. So NewGenLib is completely fit for the Indian scenario. When you look at in short, as we know that this particular software has been created as, or it is originated as commercial software. So once the commercial integrated library software as NewGenLib is created in the year 2005, after 3 years it has been converted into open source integrated library system in the year 2008. And once it is open source, that means it is registered under GNU General Public License. Now the latest version we could see is 3.1.2 and the stable version is 3.0. And this particular software is very much active in the field of library and information science now, and it has a small community, like though it is handled by Veru Solutions Private Limited, but it has a small community but which is not that much active, as I told you in the beginning that how we have the community in the ABCD and Koha. And when we look at the modular architecture of this particular NewGenLib software, it has almost 5 layers like presentation layer, web server layers, business process layers, object relational model, and then database server. And when we look at the modules, it has almost all the important modules like acquisition, technical processing, the modules for circulation, modules for serials management, statistics, reports. All these options are available in NewGenLib. This is the architecture you can see in the slide. This is the complete architecture of NewGenLib. So if you are planning to have, you should have a thorough knowledge about the architecture also, how this particular software has been developed, how you will do some kind of a customization in the functionalities. So dear learners, let me conclude with this particular slide. We have learned almost all the integrated library system under commercial and open source integrated library system. And we have discussed three major integrated library systems such as ABCD, Koha and NewGenLib. And as we know that two softwares like ABCD and Koha, which is having a foreign origin, and whereas we have developed as an indigenous software NewGenLib. And NewGenLib is initially it was a commercial software, and later it has been changed to open source integrated library system since it is licensed under JNU General Public License. And many of the libraries these days they are adopting or they are migrating from their legacy commercial software into this particular open source software, maybe Koha or NewGenLib. When we look at the ABCD, the rate of adoption of this particular software is comparatively low when you compare to Koha and NewGenLib. But when you look at this complete scenario of ABCD, Koha and this particular NewGenLib software, Koha is leading in the Indian libraries as it has a strong community of participants, users, developers, and its frequency comes with updates, etc. So these are all make the sustainability of a particular software in any of the field. With this, dear learners, I am very much confident that you will be able to now choose any of the open source integrated library system. Now you know the categories of open source integrated library system and commercial one. Dear learners, I am confident that you have got a good idea about what are the different types of integrated library system, what are its features, and what are the criteria for selecting a particular software, and what are the different types like commercial, integrated, individually developed or in-house softwares. And when you are going for any of the software, how do you select this? And when you select an open source software, what are the advantages and disadvantages? And when you go for a commercial one, what are the facilities available? What are the challenges you need to face? And when you select an open source integrated library system, what are the major softwares which are leading in the country or leading in the library side, and also like ABCD, Koha and NewGenLib, and what are the difference between these three softwares and how these three softwares are different from one another. So all this you will be familiar with. And I will show you some of the screenshot of NewGenLib. Here we can see that this is the, when you just click on verusaSolutions.bis/kb installation new. So here you can see this particular window. This is the administrative module of NewGenLib, where you can see almost all the functional modules. This is the cataloging module of NewGenLib, where you can see all the modules, submodules and subsystems, etc., where you will be able to make utilization of all the entries wherever you require that. And this is the circulation module of this particular software NewGenLib. And this is the OPAC, where you can have an interface for the users. So dear learners, with this particular week, we have learned everything about integrated library system, categories, features, criteria, and how do we select an evaluation of a particular software under open source category, under commercial category, and how do we choose any of this software. And we have evaluated three major softwares which are highly used in Indian libraries such as ABCD, Koha, and then NewGenLib. We have also seen the demo versions, and you also have the facility of trying all this software as your own, and lot of materials and documentations and videos are available on internet, so that you will be able to make fit for downloading, installing and perfectly using this software based on your requirement and wherever you are working and wherever you are going to work in a particular library. Thank you.